Forex scarcity pushes exchange rate to 782 naira per dollar. Niger coup, a symptom of imbalance in Africa's relationship with Europe. These are the hot topics for today on the show. And also we'll be lifting from off the press some headlines that made it to the front pages of some of our national dailies. Very good morning to you and thanks for joining us on the breakfast show this Friday morning. Thank God it's Friday. My name is Nyamgul Agaji. I do hope that you're going to have a wonderful time and you're going to have a wonderful weekend when you close from work today. I do hope also that the traffic situation will be as friendly as it has been a few days now. We hope that it will stay that way, not just because people cannot buy petrol, but because the roads are better now and freer than they used to be at least a few weeks ago. Well, you're welcome to the show once again, and there's some things that we need to address this morning. Not really address, but some things that are trending that we'd like to bring to you as well. Now, one of the things is that the Kwankwasia has lost one person, not to death anyway, but has been removed because the tribunal has sacked the Kano NNPP rep over alleged forgery of certificates. The National and State House of Assembly Elections Petitions Tribunal in Kano State rendered a landmark decision nullifying the election victory of Mukhtar Omar Yarima from the New Nigeria People's Party NNPP as the House of Representatives member for Tarauni Federal Constituency. Now that really is a landmark judgment. The tribunal's three-man panel led by Justice I.P. Chima ruled that Yarima's victory was invalid due to the alleged forgery of his primary school certificate, which had been submitted to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Justice I.P. Chima, while delivering the tribunal's decision, stated that after a thorough examination of evidence presented, it had been established beyond reasonable doubt that Mukhtar Omar Yarima submitted a forged primary school certificate to INEC, an act he said disqualifies the NNPP candidate from holding the position he was elected to. The petitioner in the case, Hafizu Kawu of the All Progressives Congress APC, had challenged Yarima's eligibility and presented evidence proving the forgery allegation. The tribunal now found in favor of Kawu, highlighting a compelling case of alleged forgery against Yarima. As a result, the tribunal determined that the NNPP had no legitimate candidate in the election and declared all the votes cast for Yarima as wasted votes. The tribunal also directed INEC to retract the certificate of return that had previously been issued to Yarima, effectively stripping him of his elected position. And in his defense, Yarima had claimed to have legally changed his name in 2022. However, the tribunal rejected this argument, emphasizing that Yarima's inconsistent use of multiple names, Umar Mukhtar Zakari, on his passport since 2009 undermined his credibility. And furthermore, the primary school in question, Hausawa Primary School, disowned the certificate presented by Yarima, adding weight to the tribunal's decision. Now, this throws up a lot of some questions, and the clincher there is the fact that the primary school had disowned this certificate. That is what wiped everything away. And we've seen instances like this: a Vance Enwerem cost the then Senate President his seat because they said he had forged his names or the certificate or whatever papers that he presented, because in some it was a Vance, in others it was a Van. So we didn't know what it was. But we've seen also these certificates. We've seen a Muhammadu in some papers and Mohammed in another some other papers. And the man served as a president for 8 years. So we don't really know what the courts say, what the law says, or how the law works in so many instances now. And then the question that it also throws up is the fact that when an election is won, is it the individual that wins the election or the party that wins the election? That argument needs to be opened, or at least explained to us, the people. So if PDP or APC goes into an election, or as in the case of Kano, if NNPP goes into an election and wins, is it the face of NNPP that people are voting for, or they are voting for the party? Who owns the rights, as it were, for that election victory or otherwise? Is it the individual? So the individual takes all the credits and everything. But if it's not the individual and it's the party that wins the election, then if the person is removed, does it mean that the party can bring someone else? But in this case, they say they had no valid candidate. So even if the party won the election, the person in question was not valid. It was not someone that was not qualified enough to stand for election. So maybe someday legal luminaries will explain to us what really happens. Or are there levels at which, if someone is found not to be eligible to contest an election, the party takes the credit and fills someone else? What if the person dies? The law doesn't apply in that regard. So if someone dies who has won an election, why is it that the party is given another opportunity to put someone else in that position? Or is that what really happens? Well, I don't know about that. We'll have to call a legal mind to tell us some of these things on a later date. But today, we're just looking at the fact that someone fielded a certificate that was not genuine, and it has been found out that he forged it, or he was given the wrong one, or legally or truly he changed his names at some point but didn't make it as official as it should have been made. These mistakes are done by a lot of people like that. Sometimes it's the women. If you marry someone and then your paper carries your husband's name, or some other papers carry your maiden name, and maybe you married more than once and papers are carrying multiple names, and you don't make it official enough, it will affect you in another, or maybe on one occasion that you might need to be consistent enough. Like in this case, this is what happened. But I do hope that there's going to be one day a good mechanism, a good data base that we're going to be just going to by a click of the button and know for sure that XYZ really qualifies to be XYZ, because we're seeing a lot of people that after some time, you find out that the universities they said they attended, they really didn't attend them. The primary schools they say they attended, they really didn't attend. The secondary schools they say they attended, they really didn't attend. But these people are smart enough to take the reins of leadership and steer the ship as best they can because maybe of exposure or a lot of other things. So if we're just bringing down the level at which someone can attain before he becomes whatever he becomes in Nigeria, let us bring it down. Or if we're not bringing it down, then there should be some kind of litmus test that is strong enough to fish out people even before they get to the polls to contest. We really need to look into database, know who are criminals, people who should be on the list of people that should never qualify for certain positions in Nigeria. Then know people who are qualified educationally and otherwise, and so many other things. It will save us a lot of time rather than all this. I don't know what is going to happen, what powers the tribunal has, if it can be surpassed by powers of the Supreme Court. And if that is the case, that will mean that this case might drag on until the Supreme Court makes a pronouncement. Then whoever else needs to go in there will go. Another trending topic is that resident doctors have suspended the planned protest. They say the strike continues. Now let's see, this is a distinction that we have to make. They wanted to protest, that is, go out on the streets, maybe carry placards and cause traffic gridlock or occupy National Assembly or something like that. But they are already on strike, and we see the effects of their strike in all the hospitals, especially government hospitals, that the doctors are striking. And because of that, you know what it means to go to a private hospital in Nigeria. Whether we like it or not, some of these private hospitals are very, very exploitative, and they tell you half-truths. You go, for instance, you want to give birth, even if it's supposed to be a normal one, they'll tell you you need a CS, and then if you're supposed to give normal birth, and then they charge you 50,000 naira. You get a CS, and then they charge you 500,000 naira, and you will have to pay. If the government doesn't do something deliberate about health, and it is left in the hands of unchecked private people, then we might just be in for what do we say in Nigeria, a long thing. Much as we know that the health sector and so many other critical sectors are driven by the private sector, there needs to be some kind of regulation, there needs to be some kind of monitoring and so many other things, and maybe give them some grants, give them whatever they need so that the amount they charge the people may not be that much, and let them be truthful at least. That you go to get something, you have a headache and you go into the hospital, they give you a diagnosis that you will think that if you enter a vehicle and get to your house, you will die, or they put fear into you and so many other things. It's just like some people were complaining at some point that they went for maybe a fracture or a headache or something minor to a hospital, and the next thing they knew, that they were given written documents that showed that they had COVID-19. So it's really not good for our psychological health and so many other things that may not be the physical health. So the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, has suspended its planned protest scheduled to hold on Wednesday, August 9, 2023. The president of that association, Innocent Orji, made this known since Wednesday. But according to him, the industrial action, which is the strike by the association, however, continues, with the National Executive Council holding a position to review in 72 hours. So from Wednesday to Thursday today, so you know how it's getting closer and closer. So in 5 days, they are supposed to review this. We do hope that when that time comes, they will review it and call off the strike. The NAD president said his colleagues have 8 major demands, including the need for the government to recruit new hands to replace those who have left the system through migration, or what we know as brain drain, or death. So these people are not being replaced. People are running away, people are dying, people, for one reason or the other, that workforce is depleting. And unless something very, very serious is done about it, there may be crises more than what we are facing right now. Imagine that a hospital is supposed to have, let's say, 5 doctors, and 4 of them have left, or 3 of them have left. And even if 2 of them have left, you know that doctors, if they run shifts, they need also time to rest so that they don't sleep on the job. Imagine a doctor who is working 2 or 3 shifts operating upon you. Would you like that? What if he sleeps while he's trying to stitch you or cut something else? So, well, that may be a very, very serious example that I gave. But things like this could happen. So the workforce needs to be added to as it is. So Orji said the government has not shown commitment to meeting the demands of the association that they've been making for over a period of time. The association on July 25th, 2023 declared a total and indefinite strike action over the replacement of doctors who have exited the system, and demand that the salary structure of its members be increased by 200%, amongst other demands. There was a doctor a few weeks ago that was talking to us that some allowances that they were calling for, one of them they were earning, was it 15,000 or 20,000, and it was raised by 5,000 naira to something else. So that was really laughable. So if you're raising it, why not raise it? Just like the army, the other time we heard that there was allowance that they were being paid, 1,000 naira, I think is it for a night or for a month, an extra allowance, and they raised it to 1,200 naira. I mean, how does that even work in the market now? Well, the suspension of the planned protest followed a meeting between NARD, that's the Association of Resident Doctors Executive, and that of the state, or the Senate rather, led by Senate President Godswill Akpabio. Godswill Akpabio made that, he has been doing a lot, I must give that to him, especially after the NLC passed a vote of no confidence on Gbajabiamila, the Chief of Staff to the President. The functions of the Chief of Staff to the President, I don't know. I don't know how the functions are. Maybe I have to read up on that a lot because the functions that he has been given, the roles that he has been given in this government has been really, I've been questioning myself, do I really know what a Chief of Staff is? Does he have to be the president's envoy in so many cases like that? And now the Labour people said they do not have confidence in him, and the Senate president took over, and the Senate has done a good job. They were able to convince the Labour to sheath their swords, and let's see how things happen. One of the things that the Labour president, Joe Ajero, said was, I don't know, was it funny? Was it enough to convince them? I'm sure a lot of other things may have been said, but he said that the president assured them that he lives in a 2-bedroom flat now. Okay, so Nigerians have been commenting on that. There are divergent comments regarding that. How will the Jagaban be living in a 2-bedroom flat now? Is it because he wants to cut cost of governance that he's living in a 2-bedroom flat now? Why was that change made? Or was it taken out of context when we were trying to read that story, when the Labour leader was saying they were convinced by the president? So the president is living now in a 2-bedroom flat, and it's a good reason to know that he's actually working. I remember a case in the previous administration where the president said, the police boss, the IG then, was working really hard, and it showed in the body structure or the body weight that he's losing weight, and that means that he's been working very, very hard. Nigerians came online and they were talking a lot of things. So does it mean someone loses weight is because he's working when we're not seeing what he's working on ground, and you're just saying that? But okay, the previous president, the erstwhile president, Muhammadu Buhari, was a very, what word do they use? He was a funny man. He had a very good sense of humor. Yes, that's the word, a good sense of humor. And if you take it out of context, you will just feel that, okay, he was trivializing everything that he should have made very serious. Well, those are some of the trending issues. I know that if you go online, like we do these days, you'll find a lot of other things that people are talking about, but these are the ones that we just chose this morning to highlight. Right now, we're going to take a short break. When we return, we'll be looking at the headlines on Off the Press. Stay with us.